大家好，我是 All Ranch Allen. So you might be getting a lot of criticism or advice from your parents or grandparents about why you should definitely be eating rice and noodles and not stay away from them. Well, stay tuned and listen up to why all the chemistry and physiology explaining why you should or shouldn't be eating rice or noodles. So what exactly is in rice or noodles anyway? Well, that's just basically starch, and starch is just the compounded form of glucose. So if you refer back to my old video on why sugar is bad for you, the glucose in rice and noodles is quite high. So you have to be careful about how much of glucose you're eating anyways, because if you decide not to eat rice or noodles, you still might be eating glucose in other forms, like in sugar or in junk food or in bread. So if glucose is now completely gone from your diet, let's just say it's you're not eating any forms of glucose, you're on a low carb diet or a ketogenic diet, you might also be afraid that you might be losing out on some nutrients from rice or noodles. These are in the form of micronutrients, and they're quite little, and you can definitely overlap or eat them from other sources, especially if you have a very varied vegetable diet as well, or from meat that contains a lot of nutrients. And so the micronutrients you might be missing from noodles and rice, it's very, very limited. So I wouldn't be too worried about that at all. So as mentioned in the previous video, if you don't have too much glucose in your body does eventually switch over to fat metabolism, meaning it starts to burn fat for energy. All the fat that you have stored in your body eventually will start to be used up, which is a good thing actually. It's a very healthy thing. Also from that, fat will be broken down into glycerol molecules, and through gluconeogenesis, it converts it back into glucose. So you can always be making glucose when you have fat anyway. So again, there's no worry about getting enough energy as long as you have a little bit of fat in your body, which almost everyone has. So then why are these staples considered to be an old wives' tale if you don't eat them? Well, it's basically from just 2 generations ago when they didn't have enough food to eat. Then rice and noodles and mantos have a lot of glucose stored in them. So it's a lot of energy, and which is a very important thing to have when you're trying to survive in an environment where there's no food. So just because of that environmental reason, people can be very focused on eating them for survival reasons. Nowadays, it's completely the opposite. We have too much energy. We're eating too much. We're eating ourselves to death. So that rule no longer applies. In fact, it's the opposite. We shouldn't be eating it so much. So the final recommendation from Olive Branch is that it depends on how much you're eating it and depends on what else you're eating. So it's not just a yes or no answer. This is not as clear cut. Staples can have a part to play in your diet if you're physically active and you're eating generally a healthy diet. Then a little bit of carbohydrates is not so bad. You can burn it off. However, for the long run, and ideally, the less you eat, the better, because then you can keep insulin levels to a minimum, thereby decreasing the chances of other chronic diseases. So that's it, guys. I hope that was useful. Like always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below and follow me on my WeChat official account. See you next time.